Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Wrestle Plug podcast. It's time to discuss WWE Day 1 on Day 2 at 4:21 in the morning, because that's how we roll. How fucking lazy have you got to be to just be like, yeah, just call it Day 1, innit? First day of the year. Royal Rumble will be Day 29. WrestleMania will be Day 70 something or another. And fuck off. Simple as that, really. WWE Day 1 on New Year's Day. Quite refreshing to have wrestling on New Year's Day. I'm Aeron, the most unprofessional wrestler in all of professional wrestling. And joining me to discuss WWE Day 1 is IO's favorite, Jeremy Miller, has returned once again. You'll probably see this before you see the end of year awards. So technically, this is his return, but we've already done the end of year awards. Look out for that. Now, WWE Day 1. Let's get right into it, sunshine. Pre-show, Sheamus and Ridge Holland defeated Cesaro and Ricochet by pinfall, courtesy of Ricochet trying to teabag Ridge Holland. It was a match. I believe all you saw was the botch and nothing else. Am I correct, sir?
That is correct. And I cringed a little, but then I thought to myself, damn, it's a week of botches in professional wrestling. I mean, we had the one in AEW, now we got the one on pay-per-view. Like,
yes, the one in AEW, aka one every fucking 10 minutes, from what I can tell over there. I don't know what kind of shit they're running. But hey, as long as it ain't black wrestlers botching, am I right, Tony Khan? Nicely done, Uncle Tony. Nicely done. Great energy. So, opening the show proper. Speaking of black excellence that he's done properly, the Usos renew their incredible lifelong GOAT-style rivalry with the incredible New Day. The Usos successfully defending their SmackDown Tag Team Championships against the New Day. King Woods comes out. A bit weird seeing the New Day without the New Day pomp and circumstance. It was basically King Woods and his throne, and Kofi was sitting next to him, which I thought was pretty cheap. Didn't really give much feeling, much credibility to what they do as a tag team. So immediately I'm going to be rooting for my boys, Usi Juicy, the Usos. And like I say, they retained in what has to be probably the standout match of the night, and not anything less than I would expect. Arguably, in my opinion, the greatest tag team rivalry of the last 25 years.
I can definitely agree with that. The only one that I could possibly top that maybe would be DX and Nation.
I don't think that gets even close. That's not even top 10. What are you on about? Mate, I'd have the Quebecers versus the Bumblebees in there first. Like, that's an awful choice. It's not Sandman is a great technical wrestler worthy, but it's still not fantastic, to be honest. And anyone who knows Jeremy Miller, who's been with us long term, knows that he has got hard on for Sandman. Apparently, according to Jay Miller, a very underrated technical wrestler. Yeah. Probably the less said about that, the better. I thought this match was fucking awesome. By the way, love Pat McAfee's energy for the Air Force One Jordans that the Usos were wearing. He just couldn't help but mention that about 16 times. And as a shoe connoisseur, a sneakerhead myself, I was really digging that. This match was fresh. Exactly what you'd expect for these two teams. And the fact that the Usos retained, despite the fact there was no Roman Reigns, of course, on the show, I thought that was pretty cool, keeping things going for the bloodline. And then we got the SmackDown Midcard Spectacular, Drew McIntyre versus Madcap Moss, with Happy Corbin at ringside. Why is this on a pay-per-view? Wow, Drew McIntyre has really fallen in favor, hasn't he? I was WWE champion. I guess I'm Bezos and I am blue, you bastard. And now it's just like, look at my shiny sword, and not much else. He beats Madcap Moss, and then backstage he gets his neck broken by Baron Corbin wielding the world's most plastic-looking metal structure I've ever seen. And by the way, shout out to the officials who were like, no, stop, don't do that. Oh no. It's just like, yeah, we were so terrified that we just kind of let him do it, even though do you know what the problem is with these segments? They're so stupidly over the top, I can't take them seriously. You know, back in the Attitude Era, they'd have segments like this, but they would mean something and they'd be quite sudden and quite impactful and quite dangerous. And you felt at any moment something bad could happen. Now it's super over the top. Drew's like, ho, Glasgow kiss. And these two fucking goobers. By the way, Baron Corbin dressed up in the world's greatest Boy George cosplay I've ever seen. What? Do you really want to hurt me? Yes, I fucking do, you bastard. Just fucking weird, fam. Weird. Did you enjoy the mid-card spectacular that was Madcap Moss and Drew McIntyre?
No, I did not enjoy this because Drew McIntyre deserves better than this mid-card bullshit.
I get that you want to keep Drew McIntyre away from the title scene for a bit because I feel like we were oversaturated by him. But the funny thing is, WWE punish them for booking them the way they do. It's like, oh, we're going to punish you for being in the main event title. So it's like, well, I didn't fucking put myself there. You did, dicks. Like, you know, this really does bring into cadence that argument of giving guys a rotation so they're off TV for a while. Like Drew McIntyre needs 3 or 4 months just away from TV. Maybe that's what they're doing here. Maybe that's what writes him out until maybe, and then he returns at Mania to wrestle Hornswoggle. You know.
He comes back with Hornswoggle and he's in Fit Finley attire.
Yeah, they could be the Celtic Bras or something. I don't know what you would call them, actually. What would you call... What, you know, leave it in the comments below, ladies and gentlemen. I want to know what you would call a tag team involving Drew McIntyre and Hornswoggle, and the best one gets a free T-shirt or some shit. How about that? Yeah, or you could just choke on something, I guess. I don't know. I mean, equal joy. Speaking of choking, it's Matt Riddle, and he's with Randy Orton, RK Bro versus the Street Profits and unpronounceable random rappers at ringside. They certainly weren't Bad Bunny. They certainly weren't Wale. They sure as hell weren't the greatest rap outfit of all time. Cypress Hill, don't at me. Just don't bother, because I'm not going to reply to you because I hate you all. This was good. The problem was that we had already seen a worldie of a tag team title match. So when this rolled around, it felt a little bit more like, yeah, sure, this is good, but this is like main event of Raw worthy, not like high-end WWE tag team spectacular, like Usos and New Day that can steal any show anytime. And it just, in my opinion at least, felt a little bit like a cut below. And then it's like, haha, novelty RKO, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I honestly thought that they might let Riddle drop the titles because, you know, he's doing this thing with MSK and NXT. So obviously that's only going to be a one-off kind of thing. But I don't know. RK Bro, there's nobody else for the RK Bro to go up against. What are we going to see? The Viking Raiders 47 times in a row?
Aren't they on SmackDown now?
Are the Viking Raiders on SmackDown?
I think they got moved over to SmackDown, if I'm not mistaken. But the tag team division's weird because you've got some of the best tag teams in the world, but they keep going back to the same thing. Like Usos and New Day is fine. They can fight for all eternity. But the rest of the tag team division is really stagnant. Like I like the Lotharios, but they don't seem to want to push them that much. The Viking Raiders have become kind of like joke jobbers, which leaves you with RK Bro, two singles guys.
You know who the Viking Raiders remind me of? The Headbangers.
I mean, not aesthetically, but in terms of their position on the card, they're quite over, but they never feel like they're going to be taken that seriously. Although even the Headbangers came away with a couple of pretty prominent tag team title reigns. I remember when they won, I think it was like Ground Zero, they won that match with like Legion of Doom and everyone was like, ha, Headbangers are going to get smashed up, and they ended up winning. It was quite a big deal back in the day. I think it was like 97 in your house. Yeah, no, the Viking Raiders just feel like a team that's there to fill up the numbers. And I'm sure that everybody in AEW is like, yes, we need the Viking Raiders. No, you don't, because you can't run your tag team division. And trust me, if you don't think that, you know, AEW is doing a bad job when it comes to tag team wrestling, you should watch our end of year awards and you might think differently after that, I can assure you. Shout out to our boys, the Varsity Blondes. Edge versus The Miz. 20 minutes long, the longest match of the night. I will admit, I am a little bit kind of weary of Edge having the longest matches every night. Like they're great, but it's like just shave 5 minutes off, bruv. It's fine. You don't need to prove it's like I'm 48 and I can still go for an hour. Yes, we believe you. You're in amazing condition. You don't need to keep doing that, sir. That being said, again, this is amazing because the Miz is like the workhorse that gets everybody over, and Edge is the workhorse who's here to help make other people look like bigger stars. So it was two guys who were working really hard to make each other look good, and because of that, it bounced off each other really beautifully. And I feel like Edge is having he's having that Shawn Michaels kind of second time resurgence, like Michaels did in 2002 to like 2008, 2010, with all those amazing matches with Jericho and Taker and Batista and everybody else. And that's kind of what Edge is doing. Edge has come back and said, I just want to have great matches and help everybody get to another level using my promos. And of course, the Miz bounces off him beautifully. You got Maurice at ringside, and the big reveal is, of course, the return, well, somewhat return, unless you've been watching NXT, of Beth Phoenix, who looks $1 million. Still looks like she can go with the best of them. No doubt will do. And we'll prove that probably when Edge and Beth Phoenix, I assume, face Miz and Maurice at WrestleMania in what will be a massive upgrade from the horrible John Cena match that we got at WrestleMania 33 many years ago. But a great match. Great match, wasn't it? It was fun. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Love the Brood entrance that he keeps doing now, every now and then. But the way he comes through fire, it's like, nostalgia. You gotta love it. And then when Miz smacks him in the head with the fucking figure four locked in, and he's like, fuck you. You are not gonna make me tap. And Miz is like, what the fuck? Yeah. What do you want, steroids?
Yeah, I loved it. I liked it. It was simple, effective storytelling. It was, the veteran who's come back, and Miz, who believes himself to kind of be in Edge's position now of like, I'm the veteran. I'm the guy who has been leading this company, who's been working his ass off while you've been sitting home crying about your broken neck or whatever. And my wife is clearly hotter than yours and better than yours. And then Beth Phoenix is like, bitch, you best know your fucking role. And it just works beautifully. And they're all veterans. And what I love about it is, there's no kind of like, oh, that one's a bit green, or oh, she hasn't been here very long. Is she going to be able to, be capable? They've all been in this business for 10 plus years, if not a lot longer. Some guys, obviously Edge is his case, like forever, but they all are seasoned veterans, and they're going to go out and provide an excellent high quality tag match. I just hope they don't spunk it too early and do build properly to WrestleMania. Have Beth Phoenix and Maurice maybe clash with each other. Maybe Beth Phoenix lobs Maurice out, or vice versa, in the Women's Royal Rumble. Nice little storytelling piece. Same with the Miz and Edge, eliminating each other maybe, or fucking going at it in the Royal Rumble, costing each other the match, and builds more and more. Maybe at Fastlane, have two singles matches, and then have the tag match blow off at WrestleMania and move on to something else. It's great for Edge as well, because he's not kind of in the way or sucking up the big spots of other people. I think it works really, really well. And I think Edge has been delivering world-class work. I really do. Becky Lynch versus Liv Morgan. I wanted one thing from this, and I didn't get it. I wanted my Liv Morgan championship reign to begin. The hottest woman walking this earth. And unfortunately, Botchy Becky had to just get involved as per usual. And Becky Lynch retains, albeit in a very, very stellar effort from Liv Morgan. This match went 17 minutes, which really shows you how far women's wrestling has come. Disappointing, though. Very, very disappointing that Liv Morgan didn't pick up the win. Jeremy Miller's on the move. He's that disappointed with what happened. But yeah, no,
I'm quite disappointed because, again, I thought Liv Morgan deserved. We need to get away. I know WWE loves the four horsewomen: Bayley, Sasha, Charlotte, and Becky, for good reason. They are their workhorses, but we need new faces to be the champions. And now with Liv losing to Bex, who in the hell do they get to face Becky next? What are we going to get? Bianca Belair 2.52? Like, fucking A. What are we going to get? A returning Alexa Bliss, not of the Fiend? Maybe the Goddess comes back to face big time Bex?
It's very frustrating as well, because if this was a trial run to see if they believe Liv Morgan could get the push, which they have tried before and then ceremoniously stopped, then the best thing to do would have been to just have the one match, not have it on Raw a few weeks ago, then have the pay-per-view follow-up. Look at that ceiling. It's such good shit. Jeremy Miller is the most unprofessional podcaster I've ever known. The reality is that
professional wrestling.
Yes, whatever he said. Ultimately, this was a great match on Liv Morgan's behalf. I didn't see anything that special. See, people are going to use this as an excuse. They're going to say that, oh, big time Bex, she got the best out of Liv Morgan. She raised her up another level. I don't think that's true. I think that if anything, Liv Morgan got a better match out of Becky Lynch because Becky Lynch, in my opinion, is not that great a worker. I think she's a very average promo. I think the big time Bex thing has just kind of gone way too over the top at this point. It's tedious. It's overdone. And yeah, much like Jeremy Miller, Liv Morgan seems to be all over the place and never seems to really give us the end result that we want. So, as Jeremy Miller moves on to the next house, believe it or not, he wasn't actually in his own house. He was currently stalking another victim of his. He's kind of doing like a really low rent version of Collateral where Tom Cruise goes around and assassinates all these different people, except what he does is he goes around and shits in everyone's house and doesn't flush the toilet because he's that way inclined. It is what it is. It is what it is. Liv Morgan is not the Raw Women's Champion, and 2022 has got off to a terrible start, in my opinion. I mean, it's bad enough when you got Chodes giving it all out on Twitter, isn't it? But now we've got to fucking put up with the fact that there's no beautiful Liv Morgan on my screen with a beautiful title around the most beautiful waist I've ever seen in my world. This is disappointing. Now I've got to wait till WrestleMania until arguably the worst heel I've ever seen in women's history probably drops the belt to somebody we're more familiar with. Who in your eyes is going to take this belt away from her?
See, that's the thing is I don't know now because I thought Liv was the most credible person, and now we have nobody. We have no one.
A returning Alexa Bliss.
That's my guess. Is a returning Alexa Bliss, non-fiend. The goddess comes back.
Nah, she's got to come back as spooky Alexa and shove a doll up Becky's anus, mate, innit? Lily's got to go right up in that anal cavity to get that belt away from Becky Lynch, I'll tell you. That's the only way.
The only other person that I could see doing something is Raquel Gonzalez showing up at the Rumble and winning. Which would, to be fair, would be fantastic if she did, because she's done everything she needs to do in NXT. Now she's pushing, with Cora Jade and Mandy Rose. So push on to the new guard.
Yeah, it's a nice idea, but the thing is, I feel like she'll just end up like Rhea Ripley, where she'll have 3 or 4 months of looking like a big deal, and then just slot into this awful women's tag team division that never seems to go anywhere. It's kind of like, shit, we really like you, but you're not good enough, or we don't have faith in you being a main event star. So what we're going to do is turf you into this terrible tag team division, which I believe is currently run by Zelina and Carmella. Okay, great, whatever. Like Zelina, scintillating in every sense and wickedly underrated, but who cares? There are no legitimate tag teams. The one legitimate tag team they did have was the Iconics, and they're now the Impact Women's Tag Team Champions. So, swings and roundabouts, and doing a good job, it has to be said. So, for me, I can't help but feel that it's going to be an Alexa Bliss or someone who's already high profile and well established, which is a shame. I think it's time to really refresh and bring in some new blood. And I get it. Becky Lynch is a draw, even though she's not my cup of tea. But for me, I just feel like she's another one like Drew McIntyre. Get her off my screen for a while. Need a break from her. I know she only came back at SummerSlam, but it has been just nonstop. And then the other thing as well is she came out and said, I'm going to be a heel. I want to be a heel. I think I'm better as a heel. I want to really get people over as a face. And she's done nothing like that. Like, she's really bad as a heel. She's very unbelievable. And why should I feel that she's a heel anyway, when legitimately, she comes out and she says, I'm a mother. It's like, well, I'm not going to think you're a heel for giving birth. I don't look at you and just think, what? You squeezed a child out? You are Satan. Like, that's only going to work in Texas, obviously, where, you know, the idea, well, actually, if anything, they'll celebrate you more because you haven't tried to get an abortion. Sorry, Texas. But, you know, the reality is that I just don't care anymore. And I'm getting really lethargic and very tired. And when Becky is also a women's champion on a long ass show like Raw, you know, and your tedium and your boredom and anxiety is sky high. And then you know, you're like 2.5 hours in. And it's like, oh, great. Here comes big time leprechaun Bex to fucking warble away for a very average promo. Okay, cool. Like, at this point, I'd rather we repackaged her as Finley's daughter and moved on. Because I just don't give a flying fuck. But I'll tell you what I do give a flying fuck about: seeing meaty, massive men clobbering each other with their meaty, massive forearms. And I had a raging, meaty toss erection for our main event. And we have a new WWE champion. Brock Lesnar F5'd his way through 4 other men. Of course, Roman Reigns had COVID. He couldn't participate, which meant that Brock Lesnar was added to the WWE title match. And we thought, shenanigans, they're probably going to find some way of getting around it. Now, to Brock Lesnar's credit, he actually took quite a bit of abuse in this match. I thought he was just going to walk in, not bump, not do anything, F5 everything and leave. He did do that, but he took his lumps a bit. Bobby Lashley speared him through the barricade, and I had a semi on. Then Kevin Owens splashed him, and I had a full-on raging erection. There was tables involved, and this was classic WWE. We could go half an hour, but why not just go 5 minutes 50 instead? Just fucking good in it. It was like having sex with me, ladies and gentlemen. It was violent, it was ugly, it was disturbing, and it only lasted 5 minutes, and that's exactly what you want. I just thought it was fucking phenomenal. No flim flam, no fucking bullshit, no fat trimmed or any. Well, the fat was trimmed. They just fucking went hell for leather, and every guy looked legitimate as well. You could have thought, Seth Rollins and Kevin Owens are going to look shit. They actually played the whole "we're repairing and we'll wipe out the competition" thing very well. It's just that they were overwhelmed by Brock Lesnar. And you know what? Big E doesn't, for me, look weaker for losing to Brock Lesnar either, because Brock Lesnar is just that fucking destructive. Are you happy with Brock Lesnar as WWE champion?
Yes, I am happy that Brock Lesnar is the WWE champion. Does it make me feel like had Roman not got COVID, I put it in air quotes because, you know, I feel like it's probably just a joke or a work, but had he not had COVID and we actually would have got Roman, if we would have actually got Roman versus Brock, would Brock have walked out the Universal Champion? And I don't think that would actually have happened. So they had to come up with some other plan for Brock to get over to get his payday. So they say, oh, well, Roman's got COVID, so we're gonna put you in the fatal, and we're gonna put you in the fatal 4-way, make it a fatal 5-way, and good luck to the rest of you guys, you know, because Brock's gonna win. You already know this. So, am I happy that Brock's the champion? Yes, because Big E was a great champion. Don't get me wrong, but if they're gonna make Raw legitimate. Because right now, Raw is shit. Raw is absolute dog shit. And it will be dog shit still. But at least they'll have Brock Lesnar on the fucking channel with the WWE Championship. Maybe. Depending on if he turns up for work. We'll find out.
Yeah.
He has turned up lately because, you know, his whole shenanigans and looking like a farmer from Canada.
Hey, none of that. None of that. He looks very dapper in his dungarees. You leave Rocky Walkie alone.
But, like, now, of course, we're going to get the rematch. Is it going to be at or is it going to be at Royal Rumble? Or are we going to get a rematch of Big E and Lesnar on Raw tomorrow?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Walking away.
Yeah.
That's what I'm worried about. And then, okay, long-term booking, and I know everybody hates that word. What the fuck do we do for the Rumble? Like honestly, God, you can't put Lesnar and Reigns in the Rumble because, you know, they're the champs. I mean, you could do like they did to Roman before and make it whatever, both champions go up against each other in the Rumble with whatever. But no, they won't do that because Roman is the guy. And fucking Brock is now the champ. So now, who do you put in that spot to face either Roman and or Brock Lesnar?
Madcap Moss, obviously.
Happy Corbin.
Happy Corbin versus Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns. Oh my god, it's such good shit. I had Brock Lesnar down as my early fantasy pick for the Rumble. I thought Lesnar was going to win the Rumble, face Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. They were going to kick 7 shades of shit out of each other, and it would be the finally they would change the guard because Lesnar, Reigns has been on fire, to be fair, and Lesnar is the only guy really who is capable at this point, I think, and legitimately should be taking the belt off of him. And it feels like this is Lesnar Reigns rivalry I want to see, as opposed to stuff from the past, especially WrestleMania 34, which sucked massive donkey balls as Jeremy Miller disappears. Of course, he does, probably died in terms of signal, but we shall continue nonetheless. But for me, I'm sitting here, he's back. I'm sitting here thinking, okay, like you say, what the fuck do you do with the Rumble? Because if we go into the Rumble and they're still champions, then you've got to have someone different win. So it's got to be somebody that you believe, I don't want it to be cheap, like, Big E wins the Rumble and then wins it back. Okay, fuck off. Do you go for something completely out of left field and have the winner face the NXT champion, which would legitimize the NXT championship a lot? I don't think Vince McMahon would ever do something like that because in his mind, NXT is full of flippy little midgets. So he's not gonna. He's like,
not anymore. Not since fucking Lesnar. Not since Vince has taken over. Fucking now it's Braun Breaker.
Breaker versus Brock Lesnar. Braun versus Brock.
Hell.
Like that could be meaty, hossy. But that's not something I think that they're ready to throw him in the deep end with. I've got to believe that they're somehow going to get the WWE title off of Lesnar. And if they're going to do that, that's fine. Please do it legitimately. Don't have some bullshit where he just hands the belt over or, just leaves it. It's got to feel legitimate. You are now 3.5 months, give or take, away from WrestleMania. You are less than a month now away from the Royal Rumble, which for me is the biggest pay-per-view after WrestleMania. And it's my personal favorite pay-per-view by a country margin. It is most people's. You've got to deliver because you now have competition, albeit very shit at times, but the competition is there. And, I want to see at least some sort of legitimacy. So have someone win the Rumble that we can get behind, that we can believe in, and make sure that the belts are taken away from Brock or Roman at the right times and mean something. Because I feel like the WWE title has got a reputation a little bit more now of being the one that's volleyed around on, keeps getting cashed in on, Big E took it off of Miz, who took it off of Drew, and then maybe Goldberg comes back and he's like, I'm Goldberg and I want a piece, and Cameron busts a nut over it and nobody else wonders why, but, there's one for your end of year awards, ladies and gentlemen. Most underrated wrestler of the year. Who could possibly pick Goldberg? Who could possibly do such a thing? Whatever they do, please do something good. But overall, I had a good time watching this. What did you think of WWE Day 1?
I had a good time watching the pay-per-view. I mean, again, long-term booking is just scrolling in my head right now. Like, what do we do for either women? SmackDown and Raw. Asuka,
I think, for Raw.
You think Asuka and Becky?
They've been plugging her return. I think she's a big enough star, and also she's one of the few people who can get an even better match out of Becky Lynch, because I think Becky needs to be carried somewhat in matches. I know that upsets her hardcore lunatic fans, but I just don't think she's a great worker. I don't think she's a terrible worker by any means, but I just think she's very average. And I think that a lot of the women she works with, Sasha Banks, Bianca Belair, Charlotte Flair, they all carry her to a certain extent. They're the ones who would not necessarily carry her, but they lead the matches. I think Asuka is primed and ready. As far as SmackDown goes, I think Charlotte Flair's still got the title belt. Probably Sasha Banks, or she seems like the best bet. Unless you want to come out of left field, if they were really brave, maybe crown someone like Xia Li, big upset. Maybe she wins the Women's Rumble. I think the women's.
Naomi.
Naomi's a great pick. I'm sick and tired of this Sonya Deville shit. I think it's really tacky and it comes across as quasi-racist as well. And I don't understand why. Like, it's just kind of, oh, I wouldn't give you a title shot. It's like, that's a bit awkward. It's just got a bit of a Booker T, Triple H feel about it. People like you don't get title shots. It's like, ugh, just feels really grubby and grotesque. I honestly couldn't tell you, but I guess that's the joy of being a wrestling fan. It's nice to not have a clue what the fuck they're going to do. And as much as I fucking hate Raw, I might watch it for the first time in about 10 years because it has the potential. So, we'll see how it goes. As Jeremy Miller advertised season sweets or some shit like that. Could this be any more of an American stream? Huh? Like, I'm waiting for some bucktooth hooker to turn up behind him and go, you got my money, Jeremy Miller? Where's my money? For that toothy blowjob gave me behind the skip bar. Is this your place of work?
It's my wife's.
Your wife's? Sorry, Jeremy's wife. I'm not going to apologize. Actually, fuck you. You know what? Work somewhere better if you think it's that shitty. Do you know what? Get a real job, you fucking bums. Jeremy Miller, any final words before you pick up your wife and get beaten unholy to hell like you normally do?
I'll take my flogging now. Oh no.
He sells crack for a living.
Jesus. All right. No. Day one was good. I'm not gonna lie. I have been out of the WWE scene for a little bit. Been watching AEW more often because I've lost interest in WWE. But this pay-per-view has reeled me in a little bit more. I might watch Raw if I can. And yeah, very good.
You could barely dedicate half an hour to this podcast. You ain't dedicating 3 hours to watching whatever god-awful shite they're fucking producing on that show. I don't know, Dewdrop taking a shit for 20 minutes. Like, I'm paying to see that crap, am I? Dewdrop taking a big old dewdrop, as simple as that. But yeah, we'll leave it at that, ladies and gentlemen. Jeremy Miller, thank you very much for joining us on the podcast. It's a pleasure as always. Ladies and gentlemen, don't forget, end of your awards is coming. It's a two-parter. It's extremely offensive. You're not going to like it. You're going to hate us even more. You're going to want to cancel us. And if I gave a shit, I might apologize, but I don't. So go fuck yourself if you don't like it. And just don't watch and unsubscribe, innit? Like, this is the most honest podcast. We don't choke when it comes to different matters. You know what I mean? Like, if you don't like it, go and fucking cry on some other fucking wrestling podcast, mate. Doesn't really bother me. We're honest, we're real. Not everybody likes it, but the people who do, we love you very much. Happy New Year, happy holidays. Hope you all had a great Christmas and New Year. And of course, I've been Aeron X, he's been Jeremy Miller, and we'll catch you very soon for more content from this piece of shit you call a podcast, the Wrestle Block.
Bye!